You don't struggle with decisions the way you think you do. You struggle with how you think about them. And the worst part is you can feel like you're thinking clearly, but your brain is completely sabotaging you. That's why you can spend hours thinking about something, and you still end up making the wrong choice, and not even realize it until it already costs you time, money, or opportunities. Or worse, you can make decisions and then keep second guessing after, draining your energy, stressing you out, and making simple decisions feel exhausting. Most people think this is normal. It's not. There are three things that people who are actually good at making decisions do differently. And the first one is where almost everyone gets it wrong. Most people think that they're just bad at making decisions, but that's not actually the problem. The real issue is that you treat every single decision like it deserves the same level of thinking. So in your mind, everything feels equally important. And that's where things start to break. You end up overthinking things that don't really matter, like what to do next or what to say, or small daily choices that won't even matter tomorrow, let alone next week. And at the same time, you rush through things that actually shape your life, long-term things. But in that moment, it doesn't feel wrong. It just feels like you're being careful or you're trying to make the right choice. So you sit there thinking you're being logical when really you're just reacting the same way to completely different situations. And that's why you feel stuck. Not because you're making bad decisions, but because you're applying the wrong level of thinking for every single one. So here's the real shift that fixes this. I call it decision weighing. Not all decisions carry the same weight. Some are low impact, while others are high impact. Some decisions are low impact. They don't really change much in the long run or your day-to-day, and some are high impact. They actually affect the direction and outcomes of your life. The mistake most people make is that they don't separate these in real time. Everything gets the same mental effort, even when it shouldn't. You're overthinking and giving all this effort to a low impact decision that won't even matter a week from now. So instead of just thinking harder, here's what I recommend. Before you overthink anything, pause and ask yourself, is this a low impact decision or is this a high impact decision? Because most of the stress comes from treating both of these the same. And then there's one more filter you can use. Ask yourself, is it reversible or irreversible? If it's reversible, you don't need to spend that much time on it, because that means you can change it. That means, okay, if it's not to your liking, you could just take it back. While if something's irreversible, like, committing to something, that's when you slow down and actually think, this is a big decision. And once I make this decision, it's irreversible. You slow down and you actually give it more time and think properly. Because now you're not guessing how much effort you should give this decision. You're matching the type of thinking you need for the type of decision in front of you. So if this is a high impact decision, okay, I'm giving more time. It's high impact. It's going to actually affect my life. Let me give it more time. This is low impact. If I'm wrong, it's not a big deal. I'll survive in a week. That's how you need to look at it. For example, let's say you spend 20-30 minutes overthinking what I should say to this person, or what am I going to do at this event, when it doesn't even matter a week from now. These are low impact and usually reversible things. Even if they're irreversible, if there's low impact and it's not affecting you, you shouldn't give it that much time. But your brain, it treats it like it's so important, like it's a high impact thing, that this is actually going to affect you a week from now. And most of the time it's not. So you're giving it way too much thinking time, giving it way too much mental energy, and it doesn't deserve that much mental energy. At the same time, people will rush through bigger decisions and not really think all the pros and cons and not think it through, whether it's jobs, money, relationships, and they won't slow down and say, this is going to actually affect the direction of my life. Let me really slow down. Let me give this a lot of thought. Nope. They just give it the same thought that they gave going to the event or going somewhere else, the low impact decision. And that's what creates most stress in people's lives. But here's where it gets even more important, because even if you start labeling decisions correctly, that's not the full problem. The real issue is what happens inside your head while you're making the decision. Even when you're doing everything right on paper, you could still end up making the wrong choice. And it's not because you misunderstood the decision itself, but because your mind starts influencing how you interpret it in real time. Even when you think you're being logical, your brain is pushing you in certain directions without you realizing it. It's not about the decision itself. It's about how you feel about yourself in that moment, or what that decision says about you. Because a lot of decisions aren't actually about the outcome. They're actually protecting your ego. So instead of choosing what you want or what's better for you, you start choosing what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel smart, or what makes you right and not wrong, because we don't want to be wrong. And that's where things get distorted. You might stick with something longer than you should, just because leaving it would make you feel like you failed or you wasted time. So what is your brain doing? It's protecting you from wasting time. It's protecting that self-image you have of yourself. Or you might avoid something challenging, like learning a new skill, just because it threatens how you see yourself. And you might not consciously think that, but unconsciously you don't want to look stupid, right? So now this decision isn't simple anymore. And that's why we overthink. It's emotional, even if we dress it up as logical. So here's what's actually happening. There are invisible biases in every decision we make. As human beings, these biases are in us from society, from our family, from just being a human being. Things that are there just to protect our ego, avoiding regret, or justifying past effort that we made. And the problem is you don't notice them while they're happening to you. You think you're weighing the options, you think you're thinking logically, but in reality, you're just protecting how you feel about yourself. Whether you're protecting feeling smart, or you're protecting feeling safe, or you don't want to make a rough decision because of XYZ reason. We're very good at justifying them to ourselves. So even if you classify the decision correctly, but you say it's a low impact or high impact decision, or you get very good at saying, okay, this is irreversible or this is reversible, so it's not a big deal. When you get good at that, this can still have an effect on you because it still distorts your thinking. So you have to be aware of that. You have to ask yourself, if you start overthinking, what am I actually afraid of? What is this decision protecting me from? What does this say about me? For example, someone might stay at a job they don't like, but because, how it looks to other people or how it looks to them, I'm this type of person. Or someone might say, like I said earlier, they might want to learn a new skill. I've always wanted to learn guitar. I've always wanted to learn blah, blah, blah. But they might never start because, starting would make them feel stupid, or starting would be like, oh, I'm not this. They might even start. They might actually start and might actually do a little bit. But then what are they going to say? I'm not this type of person, or it's going to take years to get good, or what's the point? All of that to do what? To protect their ego. And they don't even realize it. That's why you have to be careful. These are the same situations on paper, but we have completely different biases driving the decision. And that's what quietly stops most people from building skills or doing things they actually want, or making decisions that are actually going to help them in life. So now you've got two layers. You can identify what type of decision you're making, and you can even start seeing the hidden biases that are affecting that decision. But there's still one final problem that most people don't solve. Even when they actually make a good decision, they think about it, they get the right bias, like, okay, this bias is stopping me, but I'm going to ignore it, and I'm going to still make the decision. They don't actually commit to it after. And that's where everything falls apart. Even if you start making better decisions, classify them correctly, or remove a lot of bias in that moment, there's still one thing that can completely undo that afterwards, and that's uncertainty. Most people don't struggle with making the decision. They struggle with what happens after they decide to do it. They start getting in their head and they start questioning it. Did I make the right decision? Did I make the wrong decision? They start replaying it. And this happens because the brain doesn't like unresolved uncertainty. So it keeps trying to find closure. It keeps looking for something to grab. It wants to know, was this the right move? What can I do to stop this, right? They think of your brain is thinking of all these different thoughts. And you notice this because this happens every day. But here's the problem with that. Very few decisions in life are 100% certain. And you might say, I knew that, bro. But the more uncertain something is, the more your mind tries to reopen it. So you have to remember it. You've decided to make the decision. And you're still stressing about it. You're still hesitating. You're still making mental fatigue. Why? Because you're trying to stop uncertainty. And at a certain point, decision making isn't even about finding certainty. It's about learning to tolerate uncertainty. Because certainty is what our brain wants. We want to be certain, we want to be this, we want to be that. But life doesn't work like that. Life is uncertain by nature. So the skill then becomes, can you still move forward? Can you commit to the decision without needing 100% confidence or certainty? One way to simplify this is, if a decision is irreversible, ask yourself the question, could I survive this outcome if it goes wrong? Like, worst case scenario, what happens? I'm homeless, I lose a leg, whatever. Think about what actually happens. Like, do this. I do this all the time. Actually do this. And if the answer is yes, you can survive, then the decision is probably safe enough to move forward with, because you're not trying to eliminate uncertainty anymore. You're just checking if you can handle it. Can you survive the outcome? Are you willing to make the risk? And are you willing to commit? You don't keep reopening it after you made the decision just because uncertainty shows up. And it just burns mental energy and cognitive load for no reason. And it doesn't even change anything. If you only take one thing from this video, is the more comfortable you get with uncertainty, the less power it has over your thinking, and the less power it has over your decision making. And as always, let me know any questions you guys have. And until next time, you go out.